All right, welcome back to another. We call these Conquest Corners. I guess if that's primarily the thing I do, I guess there's nothing to be called up. I'm going to keep calling it that anyway, for now at least. And on this one, I want to go over a tournament that I participated in about a week ago at this point. Now, I'm not going to go through the games turn by turn or action by action. I might still do that at some point, but I'm always back and forth of whether or not that's interesting enough for people, I guess, depending on what happens and is there a lesson to be learned per se. What I want to do for this, I just want to discuss it in general. And like I said, also discuss some of those sort of lessons learned and thoughts about this and sort of a review of where I feel that Yoroni are at right now because they're who I took. All right, so to go through this was a 10-player tournament. We did have two people end up not being able to do their last round. It wasn't going to affect overall what happened in it, but, sometimes it's December, so your ability to get out and stay out for an entire day can get a little tough depending on family and other obligations. So we're going to discuss my list. I'll talk a bit about the three games that I played. We'll talk about the other lists in general, sort of the tournament, as well as just where I think Yoroni are currently and the tweaks that they've done and where I think that makes them sit right now. Keep in mind, if you want to pick up anything for Conquest or anything like that, especially at the holiday time, we do have that discount code in the show notes. Train Kickers saves you 10%, helps out the show as well. I don't know if it works with some of the freebies. So, like, if you're trying to get the Krampus model, I think putting it in probably might make it where you can't get it or whatever. And if that's the case, get your model. Please get your free model, but maybe next year when something else happens, then you can do that. All right, so for this, I brought Yoroni for now. We are actually given the missions. We were given the full packet ahead of time. It was put on by people from Maplewood as well as another store, Rogue State Games, up in Mawa. I think technically we sort of did a joint thing for this. The two vanguards from those stores. It's not me. It's two other people. But again, I don't necessarily mention names because I don't know if people care, and I don't want that to be a potential problem. But this was put on by them. I said we ended up getting 10 people. We're hoping in the new year to be able to get bigger groups, especially as things calm down and all, or maybe once we see New First Blood come out, which I'm actually rather excited for. I'm looking for a proper skirmish game in that sort of vein of, well, I already have tons of models anyway. But we knew all that kind of stuff ahead of time. In reality, maybe you only weren't the best ones to bring based off of some of those missions. But I wanted to bring them because I hadn't actually played them tournament-wise. Actually, I don't think at this point. I played them quite a bit. I probably got, 20 plus games in with them, probably more, actually. But my Old Dominion had taken to a tournament not too recently. The previous tournament that we ran, I brought my Sorcerer Kings, and until they got some other things out, I just wasn't really feeling it. For what they do and the way I want to play them, I would like to see some of the units that aren't out yet. And for this one, we wanted to actually have the units. Actually, I still have 6 Marid Sahar sitting over there that I have to finish painting because I've been working on my Yoroni. Also, the other big facet of that is having a tournament coming up really helps motivate me to paint. So knowing that I was going to take them to the tournament helped me try to sit down and get them all painted. Now, didn't quite get there. I had my 2 Tengobushi unit not painted, and my daimyo was not 100% complete, but everyone else is done, and the basing I'm now actually working on. So I went back and forth. I originally did a completely different basing scheme, but I've 100% changed it because that's the scheme that my Weaver Quartz is doing. So I wanted to alter that. So I brought them just because they were the ones I wanted to get some work on, but I also thought they could do some good. Now, when we look at this list, part of it is both trying to do well, just so people know the way we do our prize support at Maplewood Hobby for our tournaments is it's purely random. If we get a tournament kit in, then the models in there will go by places, but the actual, in terms of like monetary part, like gift card and all, it's purely random. We do that because that way, hey, if you're new or experienced and won't make a difference, everyone is equally likely to walk away with something. And that means maybe you don't have to worry about being the most crazy competitive thing. You can bring stuff for fun because you're going to play 3 games, enjoy yourself, and you can still get something from it. All right, so let's take a look at the list. So I obviously brought them Hatsu. She is also painted. I spent a lot of time painting her, so I was going to bring her anyway. And she is honestly super, super good. So have her in there. She is bringing a 4-pack. It's 3 Oni, and 1 origami warrior. Effectively, I had 60 spare points, and you can't really fit anything else in. I did take upgrades on both my other characters, so I legitimately had no other options, although putting a spare origami in is actually pretty nice. 1, they're cheaper because you might not be able to fit someone else. 2, they don't contribute towards stands for breaking and all that sort of stuff. And that lethal demise is that extra little bit at the end. So I actually popped them in every single game. I did not run 4 wide. I ran 3 wide of the Oni in front and origami sitting in the back, because 4 wide can get a little bit tough to deal with. Also, as you'll see down here, the Kitsune Bakatsu was going to be my warlord, which means I do have the food card free reform, and once per game, someone else can be using it instead. So I want to have, like, this unit is meant to be much more targeted. Here's a problem that has armor or whatever else, send them forward, because they don't have the characters, so I don't really mind what happens afterwards. They can go forward, do some damage, and then get removed from the table, and that's okay. So that's the sort of thought with that unit. Kitsune Bakatsu, she has the Trials of Hakarishi, so she's got the Tenacious 1 in her unit. She's bringing a 3-pack of Domino Damashi. I spent the better part of the week painting them, so they were going in no matter what. Also, we did do lists were submitted a week ahead, which really helped me sit down and say, okay, here's what I have. What do I still need to get done and painted? You're going to see I brought a bunch of Kappa because I got a lot of Kappa painted. They're already been painted, so I'm bringing them either way. But the Domino Damashi are actually just really good. And everyone knows that. Their weak point is obviously their wounds, and their save isn't that great. But they have a lot of attacks. They have flurry. They actually have the unstoppable. Again, you can shoot through them, although I never actually did. Just position-wise, it didn't really matter to me. But to rush into someone else's lights or just to tie something down, they do a great job. I took a 2-pack of Akiyashi. They're my only bows. I would have liked more, but you couldn't fit them. For my bigger unit, it was 2 Kappa and an Oni. So, 1, I only own 5 Oni. So I can't do more than 5 Oni things. I own like 9 Kappa. I'm not going near that crazy. But what I like about this unit is, yes, the Oni has the Cleave 2, but you still got Cleave 1, you got Flurry, so you still have a lot of strength in the Kappa. And you have, hey, whatever ideal card, you get something good. And then when I really need it, you use the Su, switch him to Oni as the warlord, as the leader, I should say. My apologies. As a leader, and Juggernaut with 1 extra attack on everyone. And the Bakatsu, now we're talking about, what, 9 attacks. So this is where she is, and this is sort of a favored regimen of mine. I didn't bring any Kami. A few reasons. 1, my Kami are not fully painted, and I really just didn't think I'd get a chance to paint them up as well. And 2, I just don't enjoy them. They're good, and I fully understand, like, a little 2-pack to go sit on backfield objectives. The trample's nice, all that, but just, I don't know. They just don't inspire me. And I know maybe they make lists better. Maybe a little bit less so now that Trials doesn't do +1 to Tenacious, where before, yes, a Tenacious 2 unit with a Dominable 2, very tough to kill, especially when you have Mahatsu to heal them. But just not my thing. Daimyo, he took a Fudo. I took a Fudo because I have several mute cards in here, and that means he can take the card and just do something else with it. So that means his unit of this same exact thing, 2 Kappa with an Oni, can kind of get, say, a Fu benefit if I need to, or do something else. He is Chi, though, for the Warlord, so that way at least I can get a Chi card in there, because you're going to see I have a Genya in here, and I want it to have Chi at some point. Modular, 2-pack of Tengubushi, be able to go try to hunt someone down who's heavy armor. That's the sort of thought. Although, realistically, I have a lot of, Cleave 2 in this list. There's a Cleave 3 in this list. So, for people who have ways to negate that mostly, or to, because the turn they come in, they're essentially 20-inch move. Because keep in mind, your move 7, you have Vanguard 4, 18, and then you come off of Fu card, so you're at 20. So, especially if you're coming in from reserve, which or from the sides, which you easily can do because the Domino Damashi are move 7, so they can realistically move far enough to get you in. If it's turn 2, you can still utilize it. If it's turn 3 and people aren't engaged at the right time, and you choose at the right time, you can pretty much be behind the opponent. Because you could be Realistically, let's say your other units are about 20 some inches up the board. You can be almost 40. Yes, you're coming from the side, so you lose a little bit of distance, but you're the better part of 40 up the board. That's going to do you a whole lot of good. It really worked out for me in certain ways. As I said, we talked about that unit being the exact same thing. And then the Genya. The thoughts in this list, the reason why I built it this way, one, I love the Genya no Ukai, so I was bringing it, I don't care. I know there's back and forth of our monster's good enough, do you get enough out of it? The fact that it can pick up all those different bonuses, you can get an evade 3, cleave 3 monster, means the things that worry me, because what is Yoroni's big weaknesses? First main weakness is the fact that they have good amount of wounds, but very few models. Less units in general, less activations usually. So you can't usually wait people out. You can a little bit, just depending on that. And you can kind of go when you want, which is a good strength. But you can't necessarily wait people out. And you can't trade. So me taking out a unit, but then you taking them out, in most other lists that you would go against, is a very negative trade, and it's going to work out poorly for you. Because most people are going to have more units than you. And even if they don't, they might have some that are disposable. Kind of get it in your way and just kind of slow you down. So in a mission like the first one we did, which has a lot of objectives, that can be a detriment. The other sort of minus they have, yes, they have a good amount of wounds, but defense 3 with evade 1 means if someone has some cleave, they're going to put a lot of wounds on you. And there's a decent number of things out there with, say, cleave 2. And maybe not an insane amount of attacks, but enough attacks, which means you're going to take a lot of wounds. And then your models are just going to evaporate. Your units can hit, and oftentimes they can hit very, very well. But I find a lot of them don't take the hit very well. If it's not a dedicated combat unit, you're going against, or someone who doesn't cleave at all. You either need cleave with lesser attacks or a lot of attacks with no cleave. But if you're going at something that's not meant to dedicate to hit someone, you might do okay. But otherwise, you might take quite a bit of wounds. There's a reason why the world's lists took Kami with the upgrade and then using the chi stuff so they could be tenacious 2, indomitable 2. You do that because then you actually do survive. Otherwise, you're not the most survivable at the end of the day. People need to throw enough at you, but I do find if it's like a good unit, I'm usually oftentimes losing mine. The wounds do help, though, of course. So the thought of this list is obviously the Damaru to push forward. Thinking of the bows, usually off towards more one side. Yeah, it'd be better if they're in the middle, but if I go off to one side, it's less likely for them to get kind of hammered in. The Bushi to go wherever I need, or potentially go hunt down objectives. And then the other units, try to put the Mahatsu and the Genya sort of towards the middle. The other 2 units off to the sides, pushing forward, the ones with my characters. And then that Oni block to just, as I said, they're the sort of throwaway if something has to be thrown away that I have to deal with. So if someone comes up with something with a good save, I'm just going to push that forward. Because that at least, we're talking about 18, 19 quality attacks at Cleave 2. All right, so that is my list. Let's talk briefly about the games. Mostly we're just going to probably talk about what the mission was, thought process on it, as well as getting into what actually occurred, at least at a high level. Okay, first mission was Divide and Conquer. So 6 objectives, 2 of them that are close to you are friendly, so can't score those, can score the other 4. And then friendly objective marker, opponent objective marker. 3 points for taking out the objective marker, 2 points for every victory zone you're grabbing, 2 more if you got 3 or more, 1 more if you got more than your opponent, and then Warlord. Which I think in the first game, actually, I don't think we bothered even counting Warlord. I think we didn't remember about it so much later on, so I don't think we actually counted Warlord. For this one, I put the list in here. I know it's 5 points over. I'm not sure why. I don't have it in front of me. Most of the list is correct. I know he had I thought he had one of each. Maybe he was running them both as the Ravarna. They looked like one of each, but they might have both been Ravarnas, and then there was an upgrade on a character that just didn't matter. Because if I remember correctly, he did talk about another character having an upgrade, but it really didn't come up, because this is an army that I know. I know Sorcerer Kings, so my first round was against Sorcerer Kings. An army that I know. I've never played the guy before. Great guy. He's actually out of Rogue State, further up north in New Jersey. I'm trying to revitalize the community there. So if you happen to be in Jersey and or lower New York, sort of the city area, and you're looking for something right along that border, great store to go to. So for his list, he had Araj, Court of Fire, 1 bound to the elements. That's sitting in the unit of Flamecasters, so that way he can utilize all those tricks. 2-pack of Ghouls, Windborn Djinn, just because I had the spare points. Another Raj, he's sitting in a 5-pack of Rajakur, 6-pack of Sword Dancers, which is potentially a lot of beef there. I said the 2 big monsters, being the few points over, they might have both been Ravarnas. It never... spoiler, one of them didn't get the swing, so I don't know exactly. The one I went against, the one that actually swung at me, I know was the Ravarna, because the Ravarna has Fiend Hunter, and he got to use those. But the other one, I don't believe ever swung. I think I took it out first. So it might have been technically another Ravarna, because it just never got to do any of its things, so I never saw its cleave numbers and all. And a sorcerer sitting in some Demure. That part's pretty typical. What I found very interesting was the large packs of Rajakur. I'm not sure I personally like that, but that's me. A little bit more Rajakur. I usually go 4 with a character, but not usually 5. Big pack of Ifrit Sword Dancers is pretty terrifying, depending how they run, or depending what they can do, because that's just a boatload of attacks. Running everything fire, running Raj Warlord for fire. So his on fire is Fan the Flames. And if the regiment is inflamed, it may choose to lose the inflamed and gain either Deadly Blades or Deadly Shot. I would tell you right now, I don't run him as Warlord. I always do Maharaj, and we talked about that afterwards. But that on Flamecasters, meaning that ones can get you 2, that can do a lot. I know he was getting tons of damage in with that. So that one I liked. Now, we're just going to talk through a bit of the game, just the important highlights. Okay, we come in here, I believe it actually turned 3 at this point. So he's running his Ifrit as a giant block. You know, he's putting his Flamecasters behind a giant block of Rajakur, which makes absolute sense. For sure, you can see my Mahatsu here, essentially sitting in the woods for the first several turns. And even at this point, we essentially didn't want to smack into each other. You can see my Damaru right over there. There, I want to grab my annotator. So you can see my Denor sitting right here. You can see his 2 packs of Ghouls sitting right here. And effectively, we played chicken for a while. So we both had all of our lights the first turn. And you can notice, like you see out here, my Akiyashi, my bows are off to the far side because I didn't want to put in them anywhere near where these Ghouls were. Because that's a perfect target. Just rush at them. And even if I take you out, who cares? You stop me from shooting for multiple turns. I'd rather delay, knowing this is a unit that can score. So since they have the ability to potentially score or do something more, I want to wait on those. But we played multiple turns of just keep away. Because I personally felt that if I pushed in, again, he has more units, especially Sorcerer Kings. He's got more units, more activations. I don't like the idea of pushing forward in either one. It doesn't quite work. Maybe the distances don't work out. I don't quite get the hits that I need with the Damaru. And then he can easily pop in and take me down. And now I'm down another unit. And that gives me some issues. And also they're Ghouls. Ghouls don't mind just getting in the way and slowing you down for a little bit. That's sort of their purpose. But they also have a lot of attacks. So if they can get into you and do something good, it really helps them out. So we're effectively sitting at like move charge range. Just about that. I think maybe like on a 6 or me on like a 5 we can make it otherwise. But we're sitting pretty far apart. Same thing. I move up this block of Oni here so they can tap this objective so I can start gaining some points. But trying to keep essentially far away if I can, trying to make it where, hey, I know these guys have the potential of Juggernaut is a Ifrit. I know I have Juggernaut, so trying to make sure it's a move charge distance. But he's thick enough that his move charge will have him still sitting in the woods too much. Okay, that's where he wants to put himself. I will go and tap this objective. And if these guys want to push in instead, so be it. Although, I'd rather them not because I want to save myself for something better. So, what we found in this game, and the part I want to get to, here it is. So if you look at the difference of these two, Here you see ghouls, and now you no longer see ghouls. So, for this game, what I did on turn 3, I utilized the Warlord's ability of everyone can benefit from Fu. Because when I looked at this, I said, hey, you know what? At the start of the turn, because remember, at the start of turn 3, these are the units that are on the board, hanging out here. I say, okay, and you can see all my cards behind me. Most of the list of my list has gone. I know these are one of the last things I'm going to go with. My hope is that if he goes with the Ghouls unit, then he puts himself in a position where I can come at him. But there's a chance that he tries to bypass me, because he potentially could do a move charge to here, or just get around me entirely. So I choose to use the Fu this particular turn, and wanting to save it for them, because to me this felt like a pivotal moment. I felt later that it wouldn't do me nearly as much good. So I wanted to use it early, knowing that I kind of felt like the Damaru versus these ghouls was going to be a huge determining factor. Because if I can take down a ghoul unit first, then I can help close that activation advantage he has. I then have more strength on essentially this whole side of the board, my whole left side, and hopefully enough pieces to contend with on the right. He didn't get very good rolls. I got pretty much my whole army in by turn 3. His army really took to like turn 4. So knowing that he has 2 monsters coming in, I kind of need to win the battle on this side decisively. So he either doesn't bother with the monsters, and now I have 2 objectives, and I can push over, or to make it where he has to devote them there, and then hope that the cleave 2s and cleave 3s I have here can eat whatever's coming this way. That's the sort of hope. So I utilize it. He pushes forward, and the part, went the wrong way. The part you don't see, they essentially do make it here. He does charge and hit, but I'm able to turn, smack them, and take out that unit. So now that means this essentially devastating 4-pack is free to push forward. They can try to go for this objective. They can be into this terrain feature where I don't care quite as much about some of the losses as he might, especially for his monsters coming in, because they're more of a move charge. Because obviously they still have to come in, but I could get to a point where maybe I can be the one charging in instead. So for this one, just kind of scrolling through to find some of the other interesting features. Obviously the bows sitting here, he puts in his bows, try to take them down, because they're not scoring that backfield, because you can't score the backfield, but they could push through and they could harass me. So do that. Another big thing that really mattered is I got the charge in. He did go for it. He just missed. When he went for it, he just didn't make it. He needed I want to say it was like a 5-up, maybe a 4-up, and missed it. Because one, he didn't realize, I think at first, that they don't have Unstoppable. They free don't. One of the biggest weaknesses in Sorcerer Kings is that a lot of their stuff does not have Unstoppable, so the units that you really need to hit might not. And he didn't. I charged it instead, and took him down by half just on the first bit. So, just to shortcut this one a little bit, you can see some of the monsters coming in there. My bowbirds, again, I put my Bushi to the far end because I'm still waiting on a monster. And hey, they can make this objective. And yeah, it's the name of the game. I am worried about scoring in this one because I feel I need it. Obviously, I'm able to push my Genya into the middle to be able to do something good there. And he goes heavy on bows on the far side. I probably would have spread him out a little bit, although I understand why he didn't want to go here, because then I could push into those bows. But unfortunately, he just isn't able to push enough. It does take a while. I think we call the game effectively after 7, because at the end of around 7, yeah, I've taken down 2 out of 3 of his monsters. His one monster got hit in the side, didn't really get to do anything. The other monster was fighting and ends up doing quite a bit of damage. It killed my Oni unit, does some damage in this as well. But you can see the big boy, I went for it with him. He, instead of inspiring and swinging, I said, hey, these guys are plastering me with wounds. You can't see it, but he's taken at least 12 wounds. He did, and that's after a heal. They said, okay, I have to chance it that, yeah, this guy's cleave 3 and all that, but it's like I need pretty good rolls to take out that Rajakur unit off of him with what was left. And he did it by the exact amount of wounds. So he could charge in and kind of just tie up for a little while. He does end up going down, but that's more than enough. So for this particular first game, where do we end it? There we go. This is probably the last picture. Yes. We end it here because essentially I'm into the side. We know this unit is effectively gone. He's got the one unit back here that's not scoring. I'm essentially on 2 scoring. In another round, essentially for round 8, I'll be able to push to 3 scoring. So we ended at I don't remember the exact score. I want to say it was about 50 to nothing. Unfortunately, it might have been like 49 or so, but around 50 to nothing. Biggest reason for that is neither one wanted to engage as much, but since I got some forces early, I was able to score some early points to begin with, and then I was able to keep it to his side of the board. He wasn't able to push past me. Now, a few things. One, through some changes, he didn't realize certain things about them at first. He didn't realize, and this is hopefully other people who play the army realize this, or if not, I'll tell you now, but when you do a ritual card, you may always go with the next card if it meets the element. So he was going for pure fire rituals because it's pure fire other than one unit. Everyone else is fire, which means, hey, he can pretty much chain activate that way. In the previous version, that was true, but some cards said it that you get to essentially go with the next one. Some didn't. So many people felt that meant, oh, you don't get to go with them. No, it was always there. It was just in the heading. And what they did is they clarified it in this one. That's no longer on the actual rituals. It says in the heading about rituals. So when he realized that, he absolutely used it later. And Raj Warlord being able to give deadly blades and deadly shots or whichever rules, those extras was doing him some good. There was some timing issues. I said he wasn't able to push far enough. He missed a charge that I was able to get, because otherwise that might change things as well. He's obviously on the objective than otherwise, but I'm able just to finagle the pieces that I need when I need them. But of a particular importance there was using that Warlord ability early. I know sometimes I try to save them for those pivotal turns. I then said, hey, you know what? This probably matters the most, because if he does just move charging those into my daimyo unit in the back, yes, I will take him out. He might do some damage to me in the first place, but I will take them out. But he slows me down a turn now. I have very few units. I have to get that unit across the board, because that's the one that can take down a monster. So, win pretty big in the first one, and then we go into second game. Second game was against a good friend of the show. Second game was Bulwark, and I was going to be facing a 100 Kingdoms horse list, which in my mind was the worst matchup that the Yoroni list has in general. Few reasons for that. The main reason is the move charge, and you're fine with that. When you look at, say, Crimson Tower are fine with just purely just do move charge. And depending on what you have, or the character you have in there, and different advantages, sometimes it's even at a +2 for the charge distance. So realistically, they're looking at, 14 plus a d6, or maybe 16 plus a d6, very far distances. And that tends to do a good amount of damage. And yes, I have a lot of wounds, but especially there, when you have brutal impact 2, and you're going to do quite a bit, I'm going to lose a lot. And if I lose a lot, if maybe I'm not alive anymore. But if I am still alive, I'm greatly hampered at that point. And you have Fearless and good morale, good resolve. I have a few things that are terrifying, not too much, but the fact that you essentially don't take any of the minuses and you have good resolve, and often in the way they run those units, sometimes might even be like a 4-pack, so the resolve's even better, makes it really tough. And there's a unit of Ashen Dawn, you have to contend with all of that. So we're looking at Bulwark, just to make sure everyone knows how this particular mission works. So we went with the one on the left being, the one on the left, for the way we did it, was the one I wanted to destroy. I think that's the actual way that we did it. But essentially, one of them is worth 2 extra points. Yeah, every other turn. So one of them's for evens, one of them's for odds. But the one that has your friendly, you can score. The one that has the opponent's marker on it, you have to take out first. So this one's fine for me. The one the one on the right was mine. We went with the one on, so B is mine. We went with A is his. That's what it was. I remember now. Because of some of the choices that he does. So that means as a horse list, he has the potential to get like points pretty quick now. I'm helped by the fact that at least there's only 2 objectives, only 2 things to worry about. However, he can get onto them a lot faster than potentially I would want to because of his speed. And, if he takes them out, he could just rush some horse unit in front, keep me out of the way, score some points, and then if I do take them out, if I can't do it without an inspire, then he just pushes right into me. So for this one, a pretty typical horse list. So we'll run through the base of what he has. I don't have that right in front of me, but like I said, it's a pretty typical horse list. Actually, maybe we'll do it this way to discuss it real fast. He also has a unit of squires. You can see that there. He's going to go push to try to take out my objective. That's what he does with his squires. I push in with my 4-pack with my Bakatsu and all of that. He obviously has 2 units of Crimson Tower coming in. He's got a unit of Ash and Dawn coming in. A block of Household Knights. So pretty typical. He does have some foot units. Sealed Temple going for the middle. So one thing I will say, and this is not to say one thing about the other player, but he is pretty new. He's about 6 games in at this point, maybe 7. So like pushing into this objective, I don't know if I would have bothered right then, but I get the point of doing it. Sealed Temple here, push into the middle. You can see that he just takes some men-at-arms. Men-at-arms, a little 4-pack with his guy, is pretty good at going to grab this objective, because if he can get onto it and I can't do anything about it, then he can score it, and it's worth a lot of points. I was greatly worried about getting points early, especially realistically. One of the things he did with this unit meant that, yes, the next turn I can charge nicely into it and probably defeat it, but I'm only going to get on the objective with a little bit. He could potentially keep me off the objective then. Crossbows. So he also brought a unit of crossbows. So some horse lists are all horse. The next one I face is all horse. This one had some foot guys. So, sorry, some of those are upside down. My apologies. These are rotated. There we go. So for this one, I decide instead I have to push up, make sure that, okay, there is some obstructing. Let me do it this way. There's some obstructing terrain. We played these as obstructing. We played this as, hindering. My apologies. These as hindering and obstructing here. So we played it that way. So I'm fine with sitting in forests or woods or just hindering anything that will remove him getting all those impact damage into me, which makes an interesting target. Is, does he even bother going after me then? Is it advantageous for him to do so? He pushes for the objective, and I go back and forth for a long time of what to do. And what I end up doing is I do decide to go for the objective. Sorry, I don't know why some of these are upside down. Where did it happen? There it is. We check. I'm technically in the front arc. I don't hit cleanly. Keep in mind, in this game, you do have to hit the absolute best you can. But that doesn't mean you have to square if you physically can't. You can sometimes be maximized without squaring. Because if I don't, it's a little bit hard to see here. Here's where his division of stands are. So if I square this one to there, I am not necessarily maximizing. So pushing a little bit further over does get me a little bit more. So because then this stand is engaged, it would have been what, 2 to 2. Doing it this way, actually, it keeps it the same. It's still 2 to 2. So I can do this. It's not necessarily more, but doing this keeps me just as good. And yeah, I'm not inspired. Actually, sorry, I am inspired because I'm light. So going through the woods, I don't care about that. But I do get to do my swings, and I do take half of them down. Means he doesn't score this objective. When I thought about it, I was concerned that if I go down in points early, that I'm going to lose out. So stopping him from scoring mattered the most for me. One thing that I think ended up being a mistake, and he's a pretty new player, so we had a frank discussion about this, is he put a sealed temple into the middle to start taking it down. Yes, that thing is worth 3 points. Yes, 3 points could be a big swing, but I don't think you need it yet. It's something you can wait on. And the reason you can wait on it is because you have more stuff than me, If you can smack into me and take my stuff out, then what's it matter? What worried me more is maybe the Seal Temple pushing to go hit the birds. Because they absolutely could. Or if I push up with this unit here, they could smack me in the side. Where they are right now, I say, okay, hey, they're stuck there for a bit. That means big boy here, the Genyo no Yokai, can wait. And he can push forward whenever he's ready. Because they're not going to take it out immediately. And I can position him well to then go against this and then push more forward. You can see a unit of Crimson Tower up in the upper left. You can see his Ashen Dawn here. The other nice part is where he puts the Ashen Dawn. Obviously looking at Ashen Dawn are a pain to fight. I think they're absolutely rough. So I want my Genya possible to go at it. I want this unit possible to go at it. And then I went heavy on the far flank. One, he didn't really have too much there yet. And also when I pushed, hey, here's this hindering terrain. So you want to come across it, you're losing more than I will lose going across it. And I went a little heavier on this side because one, I have to take out this marker to be able to score here. But also, I figure I have to push more something somewhere. So if I push it more on this side, Spider in the middle to help back up either end that she has to go, and then essentially these two ready to go against that Ashen Dawn, maybe I have enough. And then maybe everyone else just can delay. I can wait on it. And effectively, that's what happens. He brings in another Crimson Tower unit on the side. I do my birds. It gets a little bit funny what happens on some of these bits. Oh yeah, and he does have a unit of pikemen. So an extra unit of infantry. There we go. So going into 4. He pushes forward, but he doesn't actually get the charge. The objective marker, okay, he could have made it. He definitely could have. He wasn't sure if he could, so he ended up just choosing not to. I think going into them is better, even if it's just a move charge, just to put a little something on them. Because instead, now I get the possibility of charging in, and I absolutely want to charge in, because then at least I also get some impacts. Yes, and his bless and all of that, but you just have to make them roll dice. It's the only way you can take out Ashen Dawn. Quality as well. And what I do then, I play back and forth for a long time. And here's what I think is a pivotal decision. These birds, I could move charge into here and keep them back. And then I looked at it, I measured it, I said, hey, actually, if they go into the pikes, they're on their side. They'll tie the pikes down so the pikes can't charge in here. And also, there's enough space that he's going to be off of this. The cut's around there, so he's going to be in my back arc, which means it's going to push him, if he wants to do it, with the swings as well, into the back. He loses his bonuses. Even if he went on this side, I think he still loses it. But whereas on the back, he does lose them. So, you know what? Push the birds in. And because, again, I can't go shot for shot. Plus, with that objective marker destroyed, he's certainly sitting 3, 4, 5. I'm sitting 4 because she counts as 3. So if I take a few down, it still becomes my objective, which you'll notice absolutely happens. All right, let's fast forward a little bit to not take too long with this. Again, we're just trying to point out very, very important things that seem to happen. Oh, sorry, yeah. I did tell him afterwards, just try to keep the cards down. That's why I see some of the cards weren't there before. But what you notice happens actually first in this particular round is Big Boy comes sliding in. He takes down one and does like 5 out of 6 wounds to another. Because he knows both are going in. I'm not going to be able to maximize the best way I want for the Pikatsu's unit, because this unit here is in the way, but I will be able to hit and get essentially cornered a little bit. And we discuss it. I tell him, like, no, you get almost no saves against him. You'll get tons of saves against this. You want to save against this. And he does. And I think when it's all said and done, yeah, the difference is I do like 2 wounds. And then obviously the Genya doesn't push in because he wasn't the one who actually did the damage. And where the damage already been placed, essentially that was the one that was going down. That's what we played. I think that's correct, but if it's wrong, please let me know. That's how we play it, reading the rules. You can see that my Damaru push into the shooting in the back because, again, that's one of my concerns. And this is a standoff between the Household Knights and the Mahatsu. Mahatsu misses. the roll. She tries for it, misses. I think she gets it in the next one, if memory serves. I actually go in. But you can see in this one, I'm sitting at 6 points. He currently doesn't have any, but it's low points going into like turn 5. We have almost no points on the board. His guys do hit into the birds. He does all his attacks, but I actually roll well. I actually survive all that. He puts a lot into the Mahatsu, but I'm able to eat that. What happened on the side? So this is nothing against him. He's a great player. He's a good friend of mine. But since he is new, discuss some of the things that I think choices wise. When you are playing an aggressive, generally aggressive faction like the Horses, 100 Kingdoms here, that you probably want to play into that aggression and also be very careful with distances. What happened on the far left here is that he pushed his unit up but didn't charge because he didn't think he had favorable conditions. But he got me within, I don't know, half an inch of being within the 11. So that means I could charge and swing. Yes, I don't have all my pluses and stuff like that, but I have a good number of cleave 2 or cleave 1 with flurry attacks. And I eat, 2 out of 3 of them. And that's fine with me. That means this unit now, no one's threatening it really. If I take down this objective, I can now swing into the side of these household knights. My apologies. So I think, unfortunately, one of the things that I think happened for him in this game was that when it was teed off for, hey, you want initiative, because he won initiative a good number of times, even at times when I was technically at the bonus, but not going for like the big hit at the right time. I think there's a little bit of a timing issue. And timing is one of the toughest things to get good at in this game because you don't necessarily know. And Yoroni are a tough one to play timing into because whatever you do first, I will just do the next best thing second. You can't play the, ha, I got you sort of card, where you one up every single interaction because I'll just go with whatever the next best thing is to do. But I still think in some of the times it should have been gone for a definitive damaging push. And I think that lacked a little bit. So this one ends up, they end up taking on the last one. He pushes forward. And at that point, I'm sitting on the 2 objectives. The crossbows can't really do anything about it. We have this pack of 4 who can go at the crossbows or just go down this objective more. In a moment, I'll have this one. And then the Mahatsu is doing a pretty good job of just holding them together. At that point, I can just wait it out. I'll have enough points that it doesn't matter too much exactly what happens then. So I'll be able to score it out from that point. So we hear turn 6, it was at 16-6. Though I wasn't getting the points until about that turn 5 round. Yeah, we ended there on effectively turn 7 because now I'm on the spot to grab up, all of the points essentially. Where's the missions? There it is, for Bulwark. So I'm able to, depending on the round, other than 10, you don't get it. The 2 extra, I'll have both objective markers. So 4, 5, essentially 6, 7 each round. So I'll be able to do that for rounds 7, 8, and 9. And then a little bit less for 10. So we call it there. We count up the rest of the points. We looked at it. We rolled a few more dice and we realized I'm going to keep the 2 objectives. He's not really going to get to anything else. So that puts me, another 21. It gets to, 30, 38, 39 to 6 or so. Right around that. So actually might have been a little bit more on that one. But still really fun game. Still very dicey at some points. He was up in the game through like the first 4 turns. Actually that missed some of the counts. We didn't count one of the markers that he destroyed. So I want to say it was like 40 something to like 9 or 10 in the actual scoring. But I was unsure about how things were going to go at first because also we were running low on time because it was very cautious what both of us were doing. And honestly, he's new, so he's playing a little bit slow. I was just playing probably a little bit slow. Needed to speed up a little bit on my own part. But we go through that. So I am now 2-0. And so I don't have pictures of the next one. I will talk through it. I should have taken some, but usually by the third game, I just don't have the energy left. I usually find I'm just tired at that point. And not that it's tough to take pictures, but to always be thinking about it in terms of okay, I need to make sure I show this and look at this and picture between I try to do now between every activation, so that way I can time it better. But so this was one of my friends who plays at Wargamers Guild, a different part of Jersey. So if you happen to be in New Jersey, we got Conquest all over the place. Please come out and play. Every store has a Discord and all. You can find plenty of players. I know there's other stores that do as well. I know Saga Concepts for one as well. There might be others. If your store is in New Jersey or anything like that and you play, let us know. But last one, so my friend who was hosting this tournament, he chose this one because he plays Dweg, and he said he wanted one that rewards other people. He wanted a mission that means, hey, for you guys who are fast, here's your reward, because Dweg ain't getting the reward on this one. So grind them down. You got the 4 6s, you got the 9 in the middle, and the big thing here's why. At the end of supremacy phase, the first player chooses one of the 6 inches that has no friendly regiments in range of it. So not even claiming it, you just can't have units on it at all. The opponent does. Your opponent then does the same. You can choose the same one. You get 3 additional VPs if you're seizing the objective that you chose. So as long as you're not on all of the little 6s, you could theoretically kind of swap around as the turns to get them. Here's how we play this, and off of the wording in here, it's correct. Players gain 1 BP for seizing objective zone. So, and then 2 more if they're seizing 2 or more. So we play it as that means if you have any objectives, you're getting 1 point. And if you have 2 or more, you're getting a total of 2 additional. So you're getting 3 points total. Not 1 per, because this one doesn't actually say 1 per. Most of the missions, when you look at for what they do, hey, 2 for screwing this one, so for screwing that one. When you look at this one, okay, I need one that just has a bunch of like 6s. Here we go. For each. Notice this one doesn't say for each. Now, if that's the intention, that's fine, but we play it as, essentially, this is a very low-scoring mission. So you can get 3, but you could make it a 6-point turn if you also get the one that you declare. And I face another horses list for this one. So for this particular one, I should have taken at least a few. I might be able to find at least a picture or 2. Yes, my friend did post some pictures up. So this isn't that particular game. This is showing the first one I did. That's my Mahatsu. Just a little bit of a closer picture of the lady and Tiger pointing right at her. So I don't know if it says we had 10 for this particular one. Here's the army I went against someone else playing against them. As we're going to see, for the army I went against, there's 2 units of Ashen Dawn. I didn't like 1, let alone 2. He's got a big 5-pack with the Noble Lord of Household Knights. He's got, I want to say there were 2 5-packs of Crimson Tower as well. Surprise, surprise, he had less activations than I did. Yeah, we can see a bit of it here. He also had a unit of mounted squires as well. But he only had, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units. And then the characters for them. So it's 2 Crimson Tower, big blocks of Crimson Tower, 2 Ashen Dawn, Household Knight, a Squire, and then some good upgrades. He had the upgrade that makes it where I reroll all my saves from one of the characters. Household Knight guy had the extra brutal and extra impacts. You can see some of the other armies. We've shown some of, I'll say Josh because I know we've shown him on there. We talked about it before. His army sitting on the tray over here, looking absolutely beautiful. Dinosaur is the only reason I'd ever look at Wadroon. It's one of the few factions I don't know any models for. I have some models for various factions. They're one I don't have anything for. Let me see if I can find, did we take any pictures when I faced him? No, that was from my first game. Oh, sorry. So no, not in that particular set. We have just some other action shots of games, but the only shot apparently from this game versus him is right here. So, I'll just say right now, this was probably the tightest game I think I've ever played of the game. Absolutely daunting. You'll see his little guy counting as a Crimson Tower there. But where this game went well for me, we'll talk about where it went poorly. Where it went well for me was the fact that I was able to. So he had his. Let me do it. No, I'll keep it that way. He pushed up his scouts. My Damaru Damashi hit into them and essentially took down about one or so. And we're sitting there just kind of plinking at each other. But what helps is one, my spider's close enough to heal. And two, between some impassable terrain and distances, his household knights couldn't actually get in. They essentially, unless he wanted to go 2 by all the way back, 3 wide, he couldn't do anything until that happened, until something there changed. So that kept them back for about 2 extra turns. It was about turn 4 before they actually got in. He was able to put a Crimson Tower unit into the side, take out the Damashi, and then I say, okay, this needs to be an attrition game. I put my Genya to the far right, where he has one of his unit of Crimson Tower that just went to the side of someone, so I could smack in the side of him, start getting some wounds down and all of that. My Mahatsu is right there as well to hopefully heal up. In this one, off of 4 heal attempts, I got 1 out of 4. So my Genya does end up going down. He goes down. So what happens later is there's like a Crimson Tower character, my Mahatsu with household knights and some characters. And I say, hey, I could probably take out the Crimson Tower, but then he's probably going to swing with the character, die fighting, and take out my Genya. Now, that wouldn't have happened if I would have got my heals. He was essentially had like 3 or 4 wounds remaining, but he would have had like a dozen wounds remaining if I'd gotten those heals, but I kept missing them. And it wasn't because he had casters. I just missed them. Excuse me. So essentially that happens. There's a lot of trades. He ends the game with both of his Ash and Dawn having at least 1 guy left. One had like a guy on 1 wound. The other one had a full guy. Because I threw everything, as you see here. What I did, one thing I liked, his tower came in a little bit late, but I threw the Bushi into the flank because I charged into the front and was able to bring them in essentially just out of line of sight because I came in from side of the board, moving forward, and I was able to essentially cross this line when they showed up. So I do all that. You can see his other Ash and Dawn there. They slammed into the side of my guys. I put a unit in, but I couldn't kill either unit. I got him pretty low, but I just couldn't do it. What ends up happening is my bowbirds, as you see here, I end up just walking off and walking back onto objectives. So they're there. They don't do anything on the shots. So for next turn, they walk off. Then I declare this one as my main one to get to. What it really boiled down to is the fact that my characters count as 3 meant that, yes, he declared, I think this one on that turn, I had too much. Another turn on the far side, he declared that, but I had too much. So the game actually ends at 32 to me, 31 for him. I beat him by a single point and a few spots. So where I had some bad interactions, I should have had those birds come off a turn early because they take some pot shots when the unit here's almost done and they do nothing. And that was the turn where he very rightly so chose his Warlord ability, which is the same Warlord ability the my previous opponent used. That is the, was it +1 attack on your stands and hardened 1, which meant the birds do essentially nothing. That meant these whole units, when they swing into the Ash and Dawn, don't do anything then. Because I only got through before because I had like cleave 2 or even cleave once. If you're blessed ignoring all that, I'm not getting through yet. So he does a lot of very good time. It looks really, really bad for me. But essentially, I scored early. I got a couple extra rounds of like those 6 points maxes that I could do while keeping him to about a point. And that actually ends up doing it. What ends up happening is he long bomb charges on a move charge into the back of my Oni unit here with the origami, with this particular unit right here, a Crimson Tower, that have cleared out the whole rest of this board. He hits them because they're into the flank of another unit, but he can't kill them. He does like 7-8 wounds, but that's an origami and a few wounds. I'm able to heal that unit back up, finish off the thing in front of me, they swing at the thing behind, and they're able to tie it down for enough turns that my Mahatsu literally plays leapfrog between two objectives, stands on ones, I count for the next one, push forward. Then essentially for the following turn, I was able to angle her enough. She's able to go back to the other one, get the points on that one as well. So I ended up winning it by a point. And it honestly looked really bad. I was like, okay, yeah, I lost this one. But no, I ended up taking that game. So overall, what happens then is I'm actually in second. Because one other player also went 3-0, and his strength of schedule was a bit better than mine. Actually, in VP wise, he scored exactly one more VP than me. I got 132 VPs, he got 133, but his strength of schedule is a little bit better than mine because my two earlier opponents just, one I know is very new, the other one I know he hasn't played in a bit, so a little bit better showing. Though the opponent that I beat in the very last round, he ends up getting third because he was doing very well, and then we just were able to smack into each other, and I was able to pull it out. For this particular one, we had 2 Yoroni. Actually, I can show it here. That's absolutely fine. I'll pop this up here. So we have this here. We have our 2. We have Nords take it. Yoroni goes second. 100 Kingdoms go third. The other 100 Kingdoms list there. Like I said, 2 of the other players end up having to drop. But we have a good representation of some different armies and all, and overall just a really fun event. Rather than go through the games in detail, I thought this might be a better way of discussing it. For Yoroni in general, where I think they are, I still do think they have a lot of strength. I was very happy to play against the lists that I thought would give me the most trouble and do okay with them, because I was really worried about 100 Kingdoms, especially horseless, because I think horseless are still really, really great against them, but was able to pull it out. So I do think they're in a good spot. Obviously, I think the changes to Tenacious is good. Does it, and Mahatsu not being able to do the same spell twice, because double heals is great. Although I will say, the heal combo with the 4 defense helped. That last game, my Genya lasted an extra turn because I made a defense 4. Because those guys were just getting a bunch of swings, and I just survive better if I have more defense. Surprise, surprise. But I do find that as a useful thing. Although I did have in that last game, I missed at least half of the spells that I attempted. So I think they are in a good spot, I will say for sure. What I will say, though, overall, is I think they're a much more fair spot. I think they can still do well, but I don't think they're an auto in any way whatsoever. Where before, I know some people felt a little bit pressed by them. I do think the general change they did, where we can't be like 6 wide and just get a free fluid formation, is a very good change. They didn't need that, or nor should they have it. You shouldn't have those sorts of things. That's a little bit nutty. But overall, one, I really enjoyed playing them. It is particular of when you do certain things, but it's also a little bit easier than some other factions. Just because I can just adapt and choose what I want. Oh, I really want this unit to go later. You did things I didn't expect. I can just try to wait it out. The choices do become a little bit tough. I do think running the units as similar, the 2 Kappa Oni unit. So, okay, I'm putting in 2 Sue cards. That means I have a little bit extra. Because sometimes I have run or have 1 Kappa unit. The problem is that Sue cards that truly matter. The Sue card on the Kappa unit matters, because swapping them to be Juggernaut with +1 attack when you want to charge in matters huge. The other turns, taking whatever, cool. But that turn really matters. When the Genya, what you take in each turn matters, because you want to stack them up with all the bonuses. In general, I do Mew first, unless for some reason my positioning is very poorly, or what I want to put him isn't as advantageous, and so then I might use Fu first, and then Mew next. But one of my first 2 activation whims is always a Mew card, no matter what. After that, after the Mew card, it then is either Fu or Chi, depending on particular pieces. I've gone much more for the survivability, so I tend to do Mew then Chi, and then Fu or Ka or whatever, whatever order I get them. But that auto passing to resolve does a lot of good. Yes, I know his resolve is nice, but he's still one model. People are still going to hit him with a lot. You need something to help him survive, because you might not get the Mahatsu heals, or you might not have them timed correctly, because the Mahatsu can fight. You don't want it just to be a battery. That's too expensive. 280 points battery. That's probably not doing enough for you. So you need to actually hit some people with a cleave 1. But I don't mind giving up the Inspire, because 2 spells can do me a lot of good. I think the Dai Yokai still is better. I still like the Genyo more. For people who don't run it, I get it. I completely get it. This is a faction that has a nice way to get Cleave 2. So do you care so much about Cleave 3? I just run it because I absolutely love it as a model. I love monsters, so I'm going to run them, even if I could technically do more with something else. Although in reality, yeah, but maybe not quite as much, because those bonuses do help out. And at the base points cost of a lot of your units, it does make it a little bit tough. Bowbirds are still absolutely great. I would love to put 2 packs of 2 in some lists. I want to mess around with those. Origami for Damashi, I think I'm going to keep with that for now. I think I'm going to keep with the Damashi rather than the Origami. I do like the Origami as just the little extra to get the 1 more stand to that unit, though. To even if nothing more, for 60 points, 6 ablative wounds? 10 wounds a point? Yeah, to keep, 5/6 cleave 2 attacks, that's worth it. That means you got to really take 13 wounds before you start really reducing my effectiveness, rather than 7 wounds. So I think I'm going to keep doing that. And I think I'm going to experiment a little bit more with, maybe even like if I want to go cheaper, a 2-pack with a 1. But the other part I found is I want units with some size. I want, 3 or 4 modeled units, because sometimes 2 definitely has a problem if it doesn't always do enough. Because again, I don't want to really get hit back. For the birds, I think that's fine. I don't really want to go more than that, because more Bushi, like a 3rd Bushi, I don't think is going to do that much more for the targets. And a 3rd bow, I'd rather try to save the points to do 2 units of 2 instead of a unit of 3. Or save that extra 80 points to put somewhere else. Because again, 1 more bow, that's 4 more dice. I think that's somewhat of a diminishing return. And plus the little 2, it fits in all the terrain well. So I can kind of hide them where I want. Gets around people's arcs nicely. It's much easier to get to someone's side if you're only a 2-pack instead of a 3. And you do enough. So I think Yoroni are still really good. I think they're still in a good spot. I would still say out of now the 10 factions, for ease of play, I'd probably put them at if you know how to play the game, they're probably up there. They're probably rank 3 for ease of play. If you don't know the game, they're probably ranked several lower, because, you don't necessarily understand how the modular works. I know some people who know the game, and the first time I looked at it, I don't get modular, because it takes a little bit to get where the strength of it is. But they still have their big weaknesses, which is good. So for the next thing, whichever tournament or whatever big thing I have next is going to be Weaver Quartz, because I ordered a bunch of Weaver Quartz stuff that's supposed to arrive tomorrow, weather depending. So that's what I'm going to be doing through the rest of my December. I have finals this upcoming week. Once finals are done, I am going to spend plenty of time painting, building, and playing a bunch of the Weavers. So you'll see a bunch of them. Whatever the next tournament is that I can make, I think there's one at Wargamers Guild later this month, but I won't be able to make it, I don't think, with Christmas stuff. But whatever one is next, as soon as I play in that, that's what I'm bringing next, is Weavers. I have some up and down sides on them as well, but I'll devote that to something separate. For other things you'll see before the end of the year, I want to talk some Blood Bowl, because we've been playing Blood Bowl. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about when to get out of a game, because of a couple games I've gotten out of and tried to sell out of, and I'm currently working on selling out of. And also before the end of the year, probably some board game stuff I have in mind. And then, once Christmas is over, the new year gives me plenty of time to start getting back into some much more normal recordings. I'll have about a week in January where I may not have access to anything, so I'm going to try to record stuff ahead of time, because I'm going to be away helping my father because he's gonna have some ankle surgery, so that way I could be present. I just won't have this gear with me. But I have about a solid week off plus for that, so that means I got some time to pre-record some stuff, and the week or so I'm there will give me plenty of time not only to help, but also to sit and paint a bunch, because, we're not at home, you just got less stuff to do. So, all right, that'll do it for us on this particular episode. On behalf of everyone here at the show that has a good hobby, it's a great gaming.